What's about Sika, right?
Yes. The last time someone asked me a question that, what's that job that people do not like largely? It may fetch people money, but people do not regard. And what's that job I'll do for the money when I'm in a tight situation? And I was just thinking through it. And I realized that, many things that people do is because of money. And sometimes when you are pushed to the wall, there are certain things you in your natural senses you may not do, but because you need the money for something, an emergency, health, something, you just do, Charlie.
I mean, like you said, when you are pushed to the wall, and I always agree with this adage when they say that to be successful, you have to be willing to do the things you don't want to do before you can make it. Because getting up every morning, sometimes if you have a certain type of image or a certain type of school that you went to or some group of friends that you are in, that's I do last and then it reaches that point, you might be hesitant. And maybe, who knows, that will be where your breakthrough is. For me, hustling is hustling. It doesn't matter what you are doing. Once it's legal and once you are making the bread and once you are making inways into whatever it is that you want to do, I think you have to go on and do it. I mean, Charlie, also the cat. Also, we be na dey try home because Okafor a day.
Okafor the day. When talking about Okafor the day, it reminded me of something someone said to me. Said I'll play a song from Lord Kenya for saying that Charlie. Sometimes you see planning, ni be maza maybe a D.
Oh yeah. I mean. What planning for your finances is vital, and this is something that I learned, in the past year. You remember when we did the investment clinic and all the business things, and all that. I decided that I was going to be very judicious with the way I spend my money. I wasn't perfect. There were times overboard now, but largely it helped. Because normally at points where you find yourself in a very tight corner, now some of the pragmatic step that you took, so and this is something that has been part. I don't really believe in New Year resolutions, but this time around, I think part of my New Year resolutions was be extra judicious with the way I spend my money, how I spend my time, and then how I relate to people.
Okay, so you are even quantifying time to be money.
And
I get you because you're a businessman, and I think that is something that most people do not know. That also, as past yesterday when I was preparing for this interview with Mr. Nunoo, and our guest will be Mr. Evans Nunoo, our economist. He'll be joining us shortly. One of the things I came across reading the literatures is that time is also money. So that a lawyer, you can call a lawyer and he will charge you. So meaning that time can be commoditized. Right? So it and what you said is very key. It means that where you are wasting your time or where you are spending more time, if it is not giving you money, you need to realign your steps.
Exactly. Because I always say in Ghana, when we say time is money, people don't understand it. We say it's for saying sake, but people really don't get the essence of it. Because like you said, every minute that you spend with even your friends, even if it's your best friend, remember that's out 1 hour now and then a day in common. If you had used that, maybe go to your social media and then push your business and something. Try to get engagements. That is money that you are going to have in the future. But so like I'm really conscious about those things going around, and it's very important for me.
When you crafted the caption for the show, we were talking about how to redefine your relationship with money. And I remember Kofi Odudum the first thing he said was our news editor. It's sexy, but it's hard. The caption sounds sexy, but how to redefine relationship with money. Do you think that sometimes you also put lots of pressure on ourselves when it comes to savings? Because realistically, and I told you I was doing that, when you check the Ghana Statistical Service on some of these financial, the average salary of Ghana, public sector workers, teachers, nurses, is between 2,005 and 3,005. I mean, these are people who have married, have a child or a two or something. realistically, how can these people save?
And that's a dilemma. Tena Kufedu is what? It's sexy but difficult. Yeah.
And that was the first question. The second question for me is that the refrain is that find a side job.
Yeah. But if you're doing a 9
where
to 5,
are these side jobs?
Yeah.
9 to 5 I can do a side job. I know. You see, it's not always. That's what I'm saying. That it's like, how do I put it? It is not a one solution approach. That's why I like Evans. Mr. Nunoo will give you various. He's didactic in his approach to some of these things. It's not a straight jacket of it.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if you tell me that but I know someone who does 9 to 5 as a banker and uses the weekend to do stew, soup, and sell.
Yeah.
Right? But in Ghana, rarely. Because I have friends in abroad where they can go and do 2 hours somewhere. Do we have that job? And should businesses start looking at that kind of job where they don't just make you station at one place the entire day? Meanwhile, they know very well that the salary they are giving you cannot sustain you.
Yeah.
So why are we not looking at some of these things?
I think with that, maybe the labor commissions and maybe some legislations would help. Because it's really pathetic when a lot of people working in not even the formal sector where they are paid properly, 2,000, the teachers and all these ones. But
they paid what properly 2,000.
I mean, compare it to a store.
You mentioned Evans entered the studio.
Yeah, so someone who is taking say 500 or 800 cedis a month, right? So how deep how would this apply?
They don't have social security. They don't have help. One of the things people like to say, and I'll come to Mr. Augustine is in the studio. Last year by now he was trending. I remember even the West Africa Democracy Radio in Senegal called him. He was saying that Uji 2000 at T Nikosuya de and car plans on ODA Gobedo 10 Nadia Pimso. But speaking about those people, the last time someone was telling me that they are very rich, they don't pay income tax. And I said that, Charlie, you don't know what you are talking about. Because of the job that they do, they are susceptible to all sorts of illnesses, health conditions, and all that.
Yeah.
And one single health condition
can
takes them to
erase everything. Yeah.
Let me give you an example. When I used to live at Asafo, you know where the Puma filling station is? When you move from the Asafo Senate, just around the Puma filling station, that was where my favorite watch seller was. So I think for 2 days I hadn't seen her. So the daughter, and I know the daughter because she comes around when on vacation. So I saw the daughter and I asked. It was around this festive period. My mother is dead. How? And this is a woman. TikTok. I mean, anybody who's schooled at KST will know this woman. Just beside the Puma filling station, and she was gone just like that. She came to work, set up the watch and everything. She said, "Oh no, hold on, or come and she was that was it.
She didn't return.
They don't have the luxury of doing a routine health check.
Yeah.
They don't do all these things, and all these things takes money.
And then when you tell a person like that to go and save, when they are making this meager sums of money, how?
Well, we'll be speaking to this person, Mr. Nunoo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yesterday when I called you, let me check your microphone. Good morning. I just want to.
Good morning.
Okay, I can hear you now. Yesterday when I called, one of your I think it's also your side business. One of them were not well. Is the situation under control now?
She's in a critical condition. My dog.
Yes. Yesterday.
So that post was about.
That was about Mr. Nunoo. Yesterday I called him and I wanted to discuss that my dog has collapsed.
He's not a dog person, so he doesn't understand.
So I was like, dog collapsed. That's something okay. But the later I dawned on me that I remember David telling me that he's into that business.
Yes. Honestly, now I only have pets.
Okay.
I mean, Daisy is a very nice girl, and
what breed?
Rottweiler.
Rottweiler.
So I took her to the hospital yesterday night, and we were there for.
So you
hours.
have dogs hospital?
Yes.
That was an eye opener. I never know.
We have hospitals.
Yeah, baby, a free ban. Kwame peace. Did you ever boot three Who collapse?
Veterinary hospitals and clinics around.
Oh, okay.
But yesterday I took her to Tech Veterinary Hospital. I think the doctors were nice to her.
Oh, okay.
She's still in a critical condition. My prayer for her is that she survives. It's too early for these bad experiences.
Yeah. But generally, how would you say the 2023 year had been, right, from the view of an economist, looking at the general? Let's take it from the macro level, because in economists, the little I learned from my energy economy, you have the macro level, we have the medium or the middle level, and the micro. Generally, the country economically, how are we doing? IMF, we are owing the IPPs billions of dollars, haircuts, capitation grants, and all that. And yesterday, our last conversation, the haircuts bit that you talked dovetails into what I was asking about, where people should invest.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Are we at a good place?
Yes, I like how you have started it from. Let me say that last year we did better than last 2 years. So 2023 financial year was better than 2021-2022. If you look at the macroeconomic indicators, I would say that the government did relatively well last year.
So Akufo-Addo is right to say that they've turned the corner?
No, if they say they are turning the corner, fine, but they've turned the corner. I don't know which corner they are turning because things are still hard now. Talking about inflation is still high, about 26%.
Yeah, 26%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think last year, though they did better last year in terms of CD stabilization, in terms of inflation, in terms of import cover reserves and all of that, I think the government did better than the previous year. But there's still more room for improvement, and we need to work harder. That is not to say that people have experienced tremendous improvement in their livelihood. Things are still hard. People are suffering, and I think that should be something on the heart of the government to make sure that people are really feeling comfortable in the economy.
So, still on the economy, we come back to our main conversation. Still on the economy, one of the things that we were not able to do last year was to secure the second tranche of the IMF money, 604 million. There were talkabilities about many plausible reasons why we are not able to access that. One is that we still have a lot to do with our revenues, and that is why the government, for example, is introducing the emission tax, where if you drive a car, Uber, ride-hailing platforms are going to be paying this emission tax. There's also the reason that the finance minister for China changed, and therefore there are certain agreements. We owe about, I think, almost 70% of our debt to China. Yeah. So we need to do some re-strategization and all that. The bilateral. Do you think that this money will come? Do you think it will come?
Yes, I really think so. I think one major reason, probably, let me say, the external debt restructuring, and that the difficulty we are having now basically has to do with China. You remember the date, we had issues about the date and where they are supposed to start from and end, and China disagreed. Earlier we had an agreement, and China came to disagree later. I think they opted for December 2020, and we were talking about December 2022 or so, and they were talking about December 2020, something like that. It's been a while now. But I think there was that sharp disagreement, and that delayed it. But the most important thing is we've not been properly able to restructure our external debt, and that is really affecting us. If I am hoping that by the end of this first quarter, we should be having it. If we don't have it, we are going to have crisis. And so my hope is that we'll be able to have it no matter what comes. We would have that.
I mean, listening to you, said that when you compare 2023 to 2022 financial year, I mean, it was relatively better, though things are a bit hard, but relatively. Do you foresee that trend continuing in 2024, having cognizance of the fact that it's an election year and the government will do all sorts of machinations to, make people feel a little bit of reprieve?
Yeah, so we speak based on data and based on economic projections. If we are looking at our macroeconomic projections, I must say that this year should be a very difficult year. Why am I saying that? We are expecting more contractionary fiscal and monetary policies based on the government's own budgets and projections. Because if you tell me that you are going to reduce inflation from 26% to 15%, what we are saying is that you want to just take out all excess money balances in the system, and that would shrink the economy somehow. So, seriously speaking, if we are supposed to stick to the budget, then we are not supposed to be expecting much expansion in the economy. And once you target inflation you are sacrificing employment, for example, because then what you are saying is that you are not going to allow people to spend more, because anytime people demand more, aggregate demand goes up, all things being equal, aggregate general price levels are likely to increase. So if any government says that it would want to reduce inflation from 26% to 15%, then all things being equal, the government is trying to say is that I'm not going to allow people to spend that much. And if we are supposed to use policies to do that, then we are expecting more taxes or effective implementation of the existing taxes.
Has already started.
Yes. And we are also expecting that probably some interest rate would either stay or go up, so that people will be attracted to put their monies in the bank instead of spending. And if people decide not to spend, what we are saying is that people are not supposed to buy from those who are producing. And if people are not buying your goods and services, how do you employ more people?
Economic activity.
Yeah, so vacancies will be limited, and so there will be high unemployment in the system. So if we are supposed to go by the budget of the government or the projections, macroeconomic projections of the government, then this year we are not supposed to be seeing too much employment, recruitment in the public sector and even in the private sector. Because
already the government is promising, I think, Leo, I think last week we saw about almost 27,000 teachers promising. So it means that the government can give you clearance to employ, but your pay, as we always hear, would delay 8 months, 6 months. You'll be in there, you're not getting salaries.
Yeah, because if the government is forced to spend beyond its own desire, because sometimes for political reasons, the government still would want to recruit. But if we are looking at the finances of the government and the projections of the government, obviously, commonsensically, the government is not supposed to be recruiting that much this year. And most of the private sector would also not have it easy because of some of the policies the government is trying to run. Remember now that they are even charging emissions and the manufacturing firms are involved. I think that some of these taxes are regressive. They don't even make sense. Honestly speaking, in as much as we need the money, the revenue from these taxes.
I totally agree with him on that.
Leo and I had a very lengthy conversation on it. But when you look at even the emission tax you are talking about, let me just refresh people's mind. I think the last time I posted it. Now, what the government is, I think that it's even started. They are trying to charge, the commercial vehicle, they pay what they call income tax.
Yeah.
When they go to DVLA to do their registration, they and the taxi drivers. Now, the government wants to charge the ride-hailing apps, which is Uber, Bolt, and those people the same amount. I think it's 150 cedis a year. Then, in addition to that, the government is also imposing what it calls emission tax. So, if you drive Okada, Pragia, and Aboboya for a year, you pay 75 cedis. If you drive a car, which is less than 3 liters, you pay 150 Ghana cedis a year.
Those are for the Vits and the...
Yes, so those are for the Uber kind of cars. Matis and all that. If you drive like Mr. Nunoo's big cars, the one that is above the 3-liter engine, you pay 300 cedis per year. If you drive a truck, you pay 300 cedis per year. And if you're a factory, when you pollute a ton, you pay 100 cedis. So let's say no factory will produce just a ton. So let's even say you do that. That means that in a year, you pay 1,200 Ghana cedis. So it means that, as Mr. Nunoo is saying, that's also increase the cost of doing business.
Exactly.
And it means that now, if you're paying both, for example, from Care University to Tech, say 10 cedis, now there's a likelihood you pay about 12 cedis because of this.
Yes. So already we can foresee the difficulty in the economy this year. And because that is what the government is saying. So if the government would want to go by its own words, then obviously we are not supposed to be expecting flexible times this year, all right, because of the projections last year. And remember, there's something very short, simple, but very, very important. And the government is seeking to increase tax to GDP ratio. We are doing about 13%. The government would want to have 18 to 20%. And that is serious, a very serious statement in the budget, though it's very simple, all right. So the government is still aiming to achieve that, and the government will do everything possible with it on tax regimes.
On the tax to GDP, increasing the net, NDC, MPP, I mean, practically. And when you even look at some of these emission taxes, for example, how many people, those of us in the middle class, the so-called middle class, like Leo, me, I'm not there, like Leo and all that, they pick the Ubers. So when you look at our tax regime, and there are two basic principles of taxation, it must be equitable, it must be, I think the second is fairness, right?
Yes, fair.
So it seems as if every single measure, you check about e-levy, It's middle class people who put their money in the banks. It's middle class people who use the digital system to send money across. It seems as if every single measure we do when it comes to taxation, it's still just a few people being taxed more, being made to pay more, whilst a lot more people are outside the tax bracket. Someone will come to your home, do a plumbing work, charge you 200 cedis or call.
Yeah.
Okay, so send mobile money, a man no kuya take a crack. Oh, bra, me dem mobile money, Milan, ya block it. Why is government
for charges in the account?
Exactly. Why is government unable to bring these people in 7 years in power? The NDC came 8 years. I mean, why can't we do this?
Yeah, so I seriously think that it's because of the way we've structured our economy. We've sat here and talked about artisans not paying taxes, and we have suggested ways we can take taxes from them. And even when we target these people, the way Amanda will go about it. Remember how they implemented e-levy? We spoke about against it. The implementation style, they never minded anybody. Just like the free SHS, we spoke about the implementation strategy. They never listened. Now, anytime the government would like to tax people, the so-called people who are outside the tax brackets, the way it even goes about, because we are talking about the people who are highly vulnerable, people who are below a certain income bracket. And if we want them to pay taxes, we should be very careful about it. It should be as small as possible so that they wouldn't evade it or avoid it. And these are basic things I know officials of the government know and are supposed to stick to, but would reject it and do it anyhow and come back.
But if, for instance, if we could get them to into the tax brackets, wouldn't they just, pass it on to their clients? Because if you are charging 200 cedis to fix a pipe, and then now you are, you have been pulling. That's how we do it.
So what Evans is saying is that the approach to get them into the net is the issue.
Yes.
So, for example, you want more people to pay taxes. What's the solution? You say e-levy. But when you look at Ghana's digital space, how many of such artisans uses digital platforms, payment platforms? So that's where he's making.
Yeah, but my point is, in order not to put too much taxes on them for them to evade or for them to try and dodge it, can't we have a system where, because for me, if somebody gives me a job and I give them an invoice, after quoting the prices, I make sure that I calculate the tax and everything, plus work my order and I put it in there. So why would I want to evade?
No, it depends on, sometimes it's not as simple as that. Sometimes it depends on the elasticity of demand. It depends on, there are things you put taxes on and the producer will be forced to share it with the customer or even bear it. Because if you increase price to a certain level, people will just switch. There are some products or services, if you increase prices anyhow, people will still come because you may have inelastic demand. So it depends on the kind of product we are talking about. But in general, what my saying is that, what I'm attempting to say is that if we're implementing a policy, the effect, especially right from the beginning, should not be too much, like we did for e-levy. People were not using the electronic money system anymore because they felt it was unfair and they could really feel the pain. But when the government reduced it last year, it did well. It brought in so much revenue because it was reduced to, I think, 1% or so.
Yeah, 1% from 1.5.
Remember, initially we were talking about 0.5%. If the government had listened, it would have been, people wouldn't have even feel it, that there is something in the system going on. All right. So if you are interested in a tax policy, you are supposed to be, initially be strategic with it.
Were they desperate? That's why they did that?
Yes, they were. And the anticipation were just overwhelming. You remember they had to take off toll booths and because they were so sure, 100%.
Up to now, I don't understand why that
and now they are planning to bring it back. But Mr. Nunoo, we are in a new year.
Yeah.
And on Tuesday, we spoke about resolutions. And when you listen to people, the callers, for example, Joel will bear me out. Most of the people were talking about money, how to handle money, how to get money, how to handle it, where to put it, where to invest. This week there's been a trend. There's a PAMISA or something. There's another men's good like activity that has happened where people have lost money. So today we brought you in to tell us, how can we guard our money? How do we handle it with care? How do we save? Where do we save? So please take it from there.
All right, so we are in a new year, and I must say Happy New Year to all of us. If you are hearing me, it means you didn't die last year. God bless you for living. All right, so we thank God for yet another brand new year, and we are hoping that God will take us through this year too successfully. And my prayer is that we experience tremendous growth in our finances and in every sphere of our lives. May it happen in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
All right, so we first of all have to identify or properly define our sources of income, and to know that this is where we are having our monies from, protect it, and work to add more if it's necessary. So the economy is not expanding that much this year, and we are not expecting too much jobs in the system this year based on the government's own budget. So if you have any stream of income, you need to protect it. It means that if you're an employee, you need to be loyal and honest with your employer, work hard so that your employer would promote you. And you don't have
honesty
to be
and employee.
you have to be punctual at work and regular too, and do everything possible to bring you more money so that your employer would also find a reason to pay you well. And we may have to get rid of all bad practices and habits this year. Well, that notwithstanding, we also have to probably pick up other jobs, part-time jobs, side hustles, and anything possible to bring in more revenue. That is with the revenue side, because no matter how you look at it, you may have to talk about revenue and then expenditure. So that has to do with the revenue. And if you're not working, if you are out of the university, you are still looking for work, I must advise that you need to take personal branding seriously, and you need to know that it's not about flashy advertisement. Sometimes a very huge company could post a very simple advert on a wall. Don't think that because it's on an A4 sheet by the roadside, the salary will be that scanty. No, apply. Give anything a try, any job at all a try. Go there, help to work it, make things better, help to grow the business. And because you helped, if there is any huge vacancy, you'll be considered first. So that is what I want to say about the revenue side. And with the employers, my prayer is that this year you'll be lenient, fair, and kind to employees.
Some people are still waiting for their 13th month salary.
I'm telling you that sometimes it's quite baffling how an employer will be driving V8 and the employee will be on a bicycle. Key employee. I mean, the disparity is sometimes overwhelming. And I say that any state that would want to grow would make sure that it's reducing income inequality. So if the manager is the bank manager is taking 5,000 Ghana cedis, the bank sweeper is taking 1,500. That is fair. But in our case, the bank sweeper will be taking 300 cedis, and the manager takes 5,000. And the disparity is sometimes.
So basically, to bridge the disparity gap at job places.
Yes, obviously. So it's just like, you see, sometimes if you want to know how a country is faring, you may even use inequality to judge. That is why our people who are sweeping and cleaning donkey teeth are able to put up huge buildings in Africa. Because the job they are doing in Africa wouldn't fetch them anything, but over there they are able to use it to build here. Because it's also a job. It contributes to the existence of the organization. All right. So, and for example, if any growing country reduces the number of people, you see reduced number of people in agriculture. Yet agriculture will be contributing greatly to the economy. That's how it is. That's the trend. So if you take America, for example, you see only few people in agriculture, yet agriculture has a greater share. All right. So inequality as a country grows must be reducing, and I think Ghana must work at that. That is why single spine was one of the best policies Ghana had implemented, and I think Professor Tamils did so well because it sought to reduce the inequality
the
and
income
also
gap.
Streamline the payment system of our country. Right. So that is about the income system, the revenue side. With expenditure, well, let me quickly add that because of the kind of things we are seeing, like you made mention of a replica of men's good. We have to watch out for dangers to our finances, and we need to scrutinize our payroll, our pay slips, and everything relating to our finances to see if all is well. Because there are people who take loans and they don't even bother to check whether they have finished paying. Sometimes the company makes mistakes and will be deducting even after they have finished paying. All right. And sometimes it takes the company itself to draw the attention that we over deducted, so come for it. You understand? So
okay, so I get it. So it shouldn't just be about me pay about.
Yes.
This year, take your pay slips and go through.
Yes. So what I did yesterday was that I sat down to look at some of my investment, the date I did it, whether I have been receiving the right amount over the period. And that was what I was doing until my dog collapsed. So we all have to do that and make sure that we don't have unnecessary loans. And there are people who take loans and they go for top-up. All right. Sometimes when they go for the top-up, mistakenly, the old one will be on the pay slip, and the top-up together with the old one would also be there. I don't know whether you get the point I'm saying. So it's like 3 slaps instead of 1. So you need to check all these things. Sometimes it's just genuine mistake on the part of the financial institution, and you may have to check it. It is not every employee of the institution that will draw attention. They can use it to do their own things.
And there are some also companies where they have these partnerships with maybe appliance manufacturers, companies and all that, where you go and take a TV, you pay an installment and all that.
Yes.
And it will be on your pay slip, so you should be checking these deductions.
Exactly. And I was even speaking, yesterday I was speaking to a young lady who works with one of these companies. What she was telling me that you pay, it will be like Susu. So you need a television. You'll be paying every time specific amount, premiums. And when you finish paying, they bring you the television. And some people don't even care how much they are paying. They rather would have to promise them that you are finished paying, so come for it. But they don't even care whether they are just paying because they want to pay. And sometimes it takes years, like they are paying for 2 years, 3 years. So they become used to it. It's like some duty that has been tied to their neck. So even if they don't pay, they are not happy. They are happy for paying because they've been paying. It's like a cock that has been covered with a basket. If it gets there for a long time, when you take the basket, it still remains there, thinking that the basket is on. So the basket is on. So some people pay and they feel like, it's become they've gotten used to it. But we have to be very mindful of that. We also have to avoid exposing our ATM cards. There was a time I was there and I had a notice that someone was buying something with my card online. I don't know how the person managed to do it, but I declined. So if I had accepted it, they would have shopped online. I think it was Amazon. Is it Alibaba or one of these online shops? And I suspect some of these telcos, because I don't want to mention the specific, but I went there to do something and they got into contact with some of my things. So I was there and I realized that someone was attempting to buy things online with my details. So these things happen if you don't take time.
And those who do online purchases,
yes,
buying stuff, you really need to be careful, because some of these portals, the moment you put your information in, that's it. They will just clear your entire.
Yeah. So what I was told when I was young was, anytime you visit the website, you have to know that there's a locked padlock there, and it says that ATT whatever P whatever it is, the specific address, and then there is a padlock that is locked there. It means that it's secure. But some of these websites will link you to another website. You don't see any faces behind it. They are not properly registered. So if you give your financial details, they can easily take away your money without knowing. Or before you realize it's gone, and you cannot hold anybody responsible. So we need to be mindful of the kind of site we visit and buy things from before they start stealing from us. And we also have to be checking our statement periodically from the banks to know whether everything is fine. We heard of a story of bank employees stealing coins from people. I think about three or 4 years ago, they were sacked. They were caught and sacked. They don't steal much. They steal some coins.
Tiny
yeah,
bits.
So 50 pesos, 1 CD. So you might not be able, especially some of us, we might not be able to determine it because we don't have time to check coins. But what I'm saying is that it's important. Little drops of water
Mr. Mind too.
Yeah, so we need to pay attention to these things, and we have to ignore suspicious messages or unsolicited offers online via text messages and those things, so that
if it sounds too good to be true,
we are offering part-time jobs. We pay 100 Ghana cedis, 1,000 cedis a day.
Yeah. So we are live on Facebook. You can join us there. We are also live on YouTube and leave your messages. You can also send your contributions to our WhatsApp on 055-111-1995, 055-111-1995. We'll be activating the phone line soon in about 10 minutes, so you can also call us 0322-083596, 0322-083597, 0322-083598. If you have a question for Mr. Evans Nunoo on how to handle your finances in this new year, then you pose it to him, then he can give you an answer. Mr. Nunoo, listening to you, I've jotted some points down. I think that what stands out for me is I said we should need to protect our jobs because they are not mass pays for employment this year. Now we use you may so even when, because I've always told you there are sometimes situations you just feel you say your mind and you just throw your hands in and just leave. But Mr. Nunoo is saying that guard your heart. If you are quick tempered, guard your heart. But two questions for me, then I come to others. Is investment really? In my conversation with some of my age groups, it's not that we don't have the money, but where do you put the money? So it remains in your salary account. Then they will deduct 7 cedis for digital fees, 3 cedis for ATM. So you are not profiting from the money sitting in your account. There are some people, they've gone 6 months without assessing their salary or going to withdraw. They've gone 3 months. They don't know where to put the money. So, and when you speak to people, what they say is land. I mean, Ashanti region fairly has a stable land regime system. Is land a good investment to put money in?
Yes, land is a good investment. Honestly, if the money will be able to buy a good land. I have an experience with that. I don't know whether it will be proper to share because I don't normally want to share my personal issues.
Oh, you can share if you want.
I hope this year the thieves have relaxed. So if we share personal stuff, they will not chase us. But the thing is, but I think it's a good investment. You see, that is if the money can buy land. Look, you have to be strategic about it. That means that you have to be able to tell the future of the land. And that I do so well. When you are driving around.
So, for example, the land, let's say I'm going to a CN Impong Onye.
Yes.
Kumasi is
just all right.
Yeah, just so a lot of people are, coming to Kumasi to work and all that. So there's a land. Maybe I cannot afford the $500,000 in the Dome. I cannot afford maybe at Odium. But I'm saying maybe the person buying at the CN Impong say 20,000, 30,000. And the person has the money. The person knows that they're the accrued BBA amount for about. Is that enough to say that I'm buying the land there? Is these parameters enough? Because normally what people decide on to buy a land that accrued BBA betome amount for your project are these metrics enough to say I'm going to buy a land?
What you have to look out for if you are buying a land.
Yes. So you have to know the kind of people who have bought the lands at the place you are buying your land, and you also have to see if there are things like hospitals. Those are indicators that the town will grow fast. Because I tell you, there are some communities you go there and for the next 20 years they are the same as they are. You see, so if you buy there, it can only be a property for your child. So if you want to benefit whilst living, so there are some things you have to look out for. The kind of people who are buying at the place you are buying. So sometimes they said this big man bought a land here, a company bought a land here. Those things, it means that there's a potential that the town will grow faster. See, back in the years, I used to say that if anybody bought land on the Asotwe stretch, Ejusu, behind Anita Hotel, Asotwe stretch, at the time it was bushy. When I was in second year,
now the mansions.
Yes,
there.
but I used to tell my guys that if anybody had money, they should buy it from there. And naturally, because when I got there, I realized they were putting up. Some people were putting up a building that I asked. They told me it was a hospital. If you are heading towards to your right. I also went a bit further. I asked. They said it was a roofing sheet company. So I knew that the place would develop in just a matter of years. So if you are buying from there, you know that the place is going to develop faster. But there are some places, I mean, you go there and only 1 or 2 people are putting up residential facilities. If you are buying it not because you come from there and you want to stay there or something, but you are buying it for investment sake, it's not too good. So you may have the money, but if you want to benefit from it whilst living, you may have to look out for some things and how fast the place will develop before you buy.
And one thing too that many young people are in ambivalence about is that they are working, they have some money, 50,000, 60,000. I mean, should I get a car, a small car? Because some also argue that when I have the car, either hard, there's a high propensity that I can do the side job you are talking about. I can go quickly and come. It's my could touch is be about fast. But me car elementeme. Me wa car crabia, me brother bia contract be meet me nya krako deliver near maybe a menya kakrano. I will not get it because I don't have the car. And Ghana is a society where your status contributes to how you are received. That young person in that confusion state, what will you advise them? I have 50, 60,000. I want a car because I believe the car can help me get another job. I also want to maybe start a building somewhere, so let me get the land. That young person, how will you advise him?
Well, with the young people, normally we look at the personal branding. You see, the old people are no fools. They are wise and they know that you are young. So they look at your appearance, how you speak, what you have to bring on board. When you are speaking, the intelligence you put out. These are things people look out for, not your car per se, because we even know that you can go and take someone's car. You know, there has been a fight on between Shatawale and Mr. Logic, and they talk of using people's car for people to know that they are big men. All right, so people can use people's cars. So we are not looking at the kind of car you are using. In any case, who said that the VT you're using will impress me? You see, yeah, because the big man knows that the VT is like, hey, let me keep quiet before some people come after me. But I mean,
no, I get you. So basically, saying that he drives a V, he's driving a V.
Yeah, you're using a V. So you are almost like someone who is not driving at all.
Yeah.
All right. And we also know that there are people who can even drive better cars, but they are not driving because they are, in their view, they don't need it. Now we have the Uber system, the boat system. We have taxis all over. We even have a boboya in the small communities that are behaving like taxis. So is small car really important? Well, if it is important, fine. But I think that as a young person, that should be the last thing you should be talking about. If it's about getting attention and being respected, then personal branding would do. Because there are people who are in cars and they go for big meetings and they are in slippers. But who would come out to see the kind of car you brought? It's about the appearance you come up with. And there's a style. This time around, people take off. I don't know whether it is natural baldness or they don't have any hair on their heads and they will leave their beard bushy. And some of you even apply hair fertilizer, make their beard very bushy. And there's, though they have a lot of beard, on the contrary, there's nothing on their head. And they are walking about like hip-hop stars. You see, meanwhile, you want people to see you as that gentleman who needs to be in that office as a manager. I'm not saying there's any problem with that, but what I'm saying is that if you want people to see you in a certain space or in a certain light, it's about personal branding.
Presentation.
Yes, not about.
But what is what you say about someone who says that I need the car because I will use it for other probable, maybe the person has not itemized it yet or identified it yet. But when I get the car, I can use it for other productive source that will bring me revenue, which will enable me or help me to secure a land. That person, the person not looking at it just merely because of how to upload my status or anything, but he's just confused. I'm
like
a young
using
professional.
it as a useful tool.
I'm a young professional.
Build,
I want to come to work in a seemingly decent place. I also believe that when I have the car, it can facilitate my activities and make me a bit productive at other places and get revenue. Or I should get the land now and get the car later.
No, anything that will bring you more income is better. So if the car, in your view, would bring you income, then you can even not rent a house, buy the car and sleep in the car, because the car will bring you income for you to be able to rent later. We have to be reasonable with ourselves. You see, so I know people who have cars they use the boot of the car to sell as a supermarket. Sometimes they sleep in the car. It makes a lot of sense. You understand? Because the car is not only for transportational purposes, it also serves as a store or something for selling. So sometimes they go to KJT or other places. You see, they open their boot. There'll be some clothes and stuff there. Yeah, if that for that purpose, I think owning a car is the best, even against renting. Because in any case, your toothpaste and your bag could be in the car. You sleep in.
Still on
the
the
car.
young people, we'll be picking the calls in about a minute. 0322033596 033597 0322083598. Our WhatsApp number is 0551111995, and we are active on Facebook and also on our YouTube. You can leave your comment there and we read them for you. Mr. Nunoo, you know the demography of Ghana's population is largely these young people whose salary range, as I've said, is 2,000 to 3,500 and all that. What should they avoid in this new year? What should they do more when it comes to money in this new year?
Yeah, so what they should do more is to be able to manage properly their utilities. So you turn off unneeded lights when it's daytime, make sure that all the lights are off. And I realize that I have always maintained that women and kids do not really care. So you, the man, you pay. So you go around and make sure that the lights are off. If you are a lady and you are not married and you also don't do that, then you have to learn to do that.
So you may find yourself in trouble. So I'm saying that one of the causes for waste are the wives.
Not really. What I'm saying is that
they are agents.
You see, you pay. The man is the head of the family. The man pays. In most cases, all things being equal, utility bills are handled by men. And that's like school fees. Yeah, though in some cases the women also pay or contribute. But what I realized is that the women are focused on the children. In the morning, they will be bathing their kids and stuff. So they don't really pay attention to lights, which lights is supposed to be
saving
on.
Power and all
so
that. So
you, the man,
the man has to be, up and doing with that side.
That is the point. So you have to go around in the night to see which light must be off and which one.
Or leaving the
on.
fan off in a room where nobody is.
Sometimes they will move it to the bedroom to sleep, and the whole fan will be on. Sometimes they even leave the television there because probably the last person to sleep was one of the kids, and they don't care about electricity bill. In their view, nobody pays bill in Ghana. So you go around and make sure that they are off, and all appliances are off as well. And you try to iron more clothes at the same time. You don't have to iron one by one. And that's what they tell us. My brother at ECG always tells me that. And you also have to verify the type of meter you use. Is it for commercial purpose or private? If you are using a commercial meter, sometimes people rent houses that was used for commercial purpose, and so the meter might be commercial, and you are likely to pay more. So you need to check that to see if you are really paying as a private user. So we need to check that, and we also have to use water economically. How much of water we sometimes see, there are people who would want to wash every cloth with a bucket of water. You see, but I think that if you are,
some of us, we stay in a house with boreholes, we just pay electricity. Then they just pump it, so rarely we don't pay much for that.
You pay because they will share the lights, but that's the mechanized borehole. They will use that
share the prepaid,
to pump, so they will share, and then it will be.
It's the cost.
What about the use of appliances that is unnecessary?
No,
because a lot of homes, they will have every gadget you can think of. There is a toaster, there's an air fryer, there's a microwave, there's a rice cooker, there's a water heater, there's a
Yes, so I mean, if you can pay for them, fine. But if you think that it's causing you some stress, then you need to limit how much of these gadgets you use.
I've stopped using my microwave and rice cooker.
Rice cooker.
Yeah.
So you now use gas.
Yeah, I just use the gas. And funny enough, when you cook the rice with the gas, it tastes better than the rice cooker when you do it properly.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But you see, so you put the salt in it yourself?
No, I don't put salt in my rice at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one bit I respect women for, how they're able to put the salt in.
and also I'm getting a message here. A person is asking. We normally say side jobs. What investment opportunities should people be looking at to invest in as their side jobs? The Momo thing started. and now it's becoming like the communication center thing. Almost everybody is doing. What other productive sectors or emerging areas that people can look at as their side hustle?
Yes, I have always maintained that it depends. You see, this question cannot be given out like that. It depends on even your age and the kind of thing what you do.
Okay, so Mr. Nunoo, I know
yes.
we consultancy will come in, but if you are 20,
yes.
30, 40, 45, 50, which areas should you look at as a side hustle?
Yes, so you see, for example, what might be the consideration of a medical doctor will be different from, say, a lecturer or a fuel filling station attendant. It depends on your time and whether you want to be part. So someone can even set up a business which wouldn't require his presence. You understand? So yes, let's say I want to set up a market, a supermarket, aside what I do. I might not have to be in the supermarket for it to run because I have the money to do that. Someone would also want to be there personally. So it will be person specific for us to be able to give us an advice. But we cannot just say that in general, go to this side or go to that side. In fact, I used to do that, but I realized that doesn't even make sense. But it depends on the kind of person I'm dealing with, I'm handling. Then I'll be able to properly inform the person as to what. And even your passion, your interest, you understand?
Yeah, so our callers, I think that I've the opportunities here. Mr. Evans Nunoo is a business tycoon in his own right. He's an economist. If you want to know where you can put your money, you have a certain, you don't necessarily need to quote it. You don't necessarily to also mention your name for security reasons. You want advice where to put your money. Maybe someone is telling you that they can give you a certain interest over a certain money, or they are promising you something and you are not too sure about it and you want to get clarity on it. You can call us on 03220 83596, 83597, 83598. The 03220 is the prefix. You can also send us your contribution on our WhatsApp number 055 111 1995. We'll be going to Joy 99.7 soon. They will be doing a playback of one of what they describe as the most thought-provoking lectures in 2023, which was delivered by Dr. Tony Otin Jesse when he delivered at the University of Ghana Alumni Lecture when it was 75 years. So we'll be taking you to that shortly. We are waiting for your call 0322083596, 0322083597, 0322083598. We have Kofi Mensah on the line. Kofi, good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning and same to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go on, sir.
Yes. I want to ask our lecturer this morning this question. You see, the bank these days are virtually not paying anything for deposits. And can you explain why that is happening? And is it not,
explain
the patient? Because a lot of...
Hello?
Sorry, I said patient. Maybe because I'm in the hospital. Customers. Because
Mr.
what we
Mensah,
found is that
Mr. Mensah,
people want to... Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Mensah, I didn't get to your question. You said that which people are not paying interest.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is banks these days are not paying virtually anything on deposits. And I think that it will put people away because not everyone knows that they have to go for treasury bills and others. Some know that if they put their money just in the bank, they'll get something out of it. But it's not like that any longer. And I want to know why that is the case and if it's advisable to still do that. Thank you.
I think Mr. Nunoo, you noted his concern. He said that banks are no longer paying interest on deposits and I want to know why. Let's pick Owusu. Owusu, please, good morning. Happy New Year. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So what I wanted to talk about is, so particularly for the age group, he said the young generation, they are earning about 2,000, they're about 3,005, thereabout. That is true. So I think some of the areas we are not paying attention is those, if I should say, like the subscription. A lot of the useless subscription that you have a lot of the younger generation going into. So you have instances where you have one individual, even with that same salary bracket, trying to do things like a streaming service or multiple streaming services, and doing some kind of multiple
satellite subscription
TV stations that they are sort of, if I see some of this pay to view television service providers and all of that. And then the other attitude, like alcoholism every now and then, trying to. So all those things, if you are doing that, then you will not be able to make any savings, let alone be able to have some kind of strategic investment in the first place. So these are all areas that I think that, particularly for this kind of young generation, we can look at.
Oh, okay. Also, when you spoke about alcoholism, Leo just whispered to me that and run on the last beer, But yes, also thank you so much. So, Mr. Nunoo Usu was also saying that some of the youth within that age bracket, basically subscription streaming platforms, pay-to-view channels, they drink a lot, and all that. So that's something that he's also telling the youth to look at. And he was saying that when he believes they cut it down, they can be able to make some savings. Then Kofi Benson is also saying, why are banks not paying interest on deposit again?
Yes, so with his submission, I would have tied on that if we got a chance to speak on budgeting for the year. But then I'm sure we will have time for that next time. Yes, banks are, I'm surprised. Probably they are not keeping the money in their account for a certain duration, because I know they are paying. My banks have been paying. They've been sending me interest, even on the normal current account. So I'm not too sure which bank he's saving with, or who are his bankers. But I don't want to advertise for any banks. But the banks, my bankers have been paying interest on even current account, depositing current accounts. So.
Okay, so I think that we have to quickly go. Mr. Nunoo, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be speaking more. Since we are in January, Mr. Nunoo will be speaking more. We'll come back to that later. But I'm getting signals that the speech of Dr. Tony Otin Jesse has started playing on Joy. He spoke at the 75th University of Ghana alumni lecture, where he was speaking to, about a lot of issues that they believe was one of the most powerful, thought-provoking speeches in 2022. Let's take a listen.
Super Morning Show. To ensure the desired economic. In later years, it became economic liberalization and then structural adjustment. These became the buzzwords. In recent times, buzzwords are coming up again. And the new term is economic transformation, which has replaced structural adjustment. In all this, the constant is import substitution. This is the constant refrain in policy dialogues in our nation. And import substitution, just for the benefit of some of the young people here, is the establishment of factories which would manufacture the many items of everyday use that the developing nation like ours imports regularly. The post-independent strategy of import substitution led to the establishment of factories ranging from fruit processing in Sawam Canneries, Wenchi tomato, Walugu tomato, you recollect, through electronic assembly, Tema Casanoma, glass bottle manufacturing, Aboso glass, Bogatanga meat factory for making our beloved corned beef, Kumasi's shoe factory for making shoes, etc., etc. You all know this. Today, fans of our revered first president, Osajefo, recall these factories with great nostalgia and ask for a return of those import substitution industries. What I do not hear is any analysis on why these factories failed. The default explanation normally is that these factories collapsed with Osajefo, and so whoever saw off Osajefo must also have been responsible for their collapse. As happens often in discussions on economic development, our economists have left the public discourse to political activists who see most things through convenient ideological lenses, programmed to give answers that serve political ends rather than lessons in economic management. The evidence shows that the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah had little to do with the failure and collapse of these factories. The reality is that most of these factories were already on wobbly legs by 24th February 1966, as foreign exchange shortages and the resultant import license regime made their operations difficult to sustain. Import licenses, if you look at our history, were first introduced in Ghana as early as 1961. The objective was to allocate insufficient foreign exchange to deserving importers at low fixed rates in order to keep prices down. Good intentions. But as far as economic policy making goes, that was most unfortunate policy making. I dare say that because the Nkrumah government had by this time rid itself of some of the world-class economists, such as Sir Arthur Lewis, the first black to win the Nobel Prize in economics, whom Kwame Nkrumah had brought in the early 50s to help him with economic policy formulation. A common feature of these import substitution factories was that they required large and regular amounts of foreign exchange to survive. But they were not export-oriented and couldn't earn any foreign exchange. They were set up to replace imports and not to seek export markets. Most did not even have an export marketing office. They relied on the foreign exchange brought in by the cocoa farmers, the gold exports, the diamonds, to keep them running. In the early 60s, what happened? The wartime boom in commodity prices ended. Cocoa prices collapsed, along with other commodity prices like palm oil, groundnuts, and all that, leading to a shortage of foreign exchange in our country. The currency should have been allowed to depreciate, as we have subsequently become used to whenever there is a foreign exchange shortage. Instead, a fixed exchange rate was maintained. Import licenses were therefore introduced to enable qualified importers obtain foreign exchange at the official rate. Very good intentions. But this led to the development of the first ever foreign currency black market in Ghana. Anybody who could obtain foreign currency at the official rate could sell it on the black market and make a good margin. Officials responsible for issuing import licenses and allocating the scarce foreign exchange became very important people. Bribes and tips to obtain import licenses became the order of the day. State-owned factories, the import substitution factories, could not pay bribes and so couldn't obtain the imports required to survive. Briefcase-wielding people with contacts became import license agents and middlemen. They obtained foreign exchange at the low official rate and resold it at the high black market rate. This was the first instance of the economic rent-seeking behavior which has become pervasive in different forms in our country. Shortage of foreign exchange was the immediate reason for the collapse of these industries. But there was another, and for me, even more critical reason. I say this because eventually some of these factories got divested or sold to private people, and after the exchange rates adjustments, they could get foreign exchange at the new exchange rate. They still did not become profitable and sustainable. In other words, with foreign exchange available at market price, which was the corrected exchange rate, the factories could not compete with imported goods and thus could not substitute them. The solution we took as a country was to impose higher and higher import duties to protect these companies. But in a country surrounded by 3 French-speaking countries that had no such import substitution agenda and who relied on imports from Europe and France in particular, the high import duties merely encouraged smuggling from the surrounding countries. The creation of a border guard, which was the next step. When we couldn't stop it from coming, we created a whole military unit called border guard. That also did not help the situation. In effect, high import duties, armed border guards could not help the import substituting industry survive. From Bonsa Thai to Kumasi Jute Factory to Pualugu Tomato to Kumasi Leather and Tanning, none of these industries and none of the earlier ones mentioned has been successfully revived to this day. And it is not for lack of trying. Many attempts, including some by the Ghana Armed Forces, have been made to revive these companies. They tried to revive Kumasi Shoe Factory, the whole Ghana Army. They couldn't. So beyond the availability of foreign exchange, what were the other factors militating against them? The most important